Hello, hello, hello. How are we, guys? How are we? Time for a bit of a chat about Apple and stuff. We've even got news to talk about today. Exciting times. We've got at least 9 Macs with M2 Apple Silicon chips reportedly in development, and some of them could be here at WWDC, so that's exciting times. Let me know that if you can hear me okay in the chat. Let me know if everything looks alright. Fingers crossed, should all be working properly. But how are we? How are we? We're streaming again on the OBS bot, the OBS bot, tiny 4K, which I think is looking pretty nice. To be fair, as little webcams go, we are going to have our full review of it coming up. Michael Moy, hey, how are you doing? Let me know if the audio is working okay for you guys, if it's a little bit too noisy or if it's not quite loud enough. Let me know any feedback. Apologies, I have got a bit of allergies going on, so my eyes are a little bit puffy, but don't worry. I'm here. We're going to do this. We've got 5 here today. Thomas Rundle, hey, we can hear and see you fine. Brilliant stuff. All good to know, because as you know, I hate to wear headphones while I do this sort of thing. But yeah, bit of news today, which we'll come to a little bit more once we've got a few more people in the chat. But for now, let me know if you guys have got any particular questions that are going on in your minds about Apple stuff. I don't think there's been a huge amount of other stuff. We saw obviously the two charger, the two-way charger leaks coming out a little while ago. I think that's interesting. I think there's some nice stuff. Mark Sequence in the house. How you doing, Mark? Good to have you here. Yeah. Tech for your needs is here. Captain Harlock. How are you? Hope everyone's doing well today. Hope you're having a good Friday. Good Friday. It's important to have a good Friday. David Stevens, how are you doing, my friend? How are you doing? Yeah, just thought we'd have a little bit of a hangout again. Not made as many videos as I would like again this week. There is one still in the can, ready for me to edit in the morning. I've also been clearing some space outside the house because I've got a projector here that I need to review, which is just sitting up on the shelf up at the top here, and I'm going to see how it would be having like an outdoor garden cinema on the outside of the house. Mark Sequence, AirPods Max 2 and with lossless support or not. I think that's one of those things that I think we really should be getting. I think when we get AirPods Pro, we may well get some lossless support. I think for the AirPods Max, I mean, wired at least. We have a wire that we can plug in. I don't quite know how it's been this difficult for everyone to actually get wireless. To get wired lossless. That's beyond me why that's not working at the moment. But yeah, I agree. Dave Stevenson, for those wanting studio displays, a lot of Apple retail stores have them in stock at the moment. Oh, that's good to know. I think it's the studio, the Mac Studio itself, like the computer part, that's harder to come by at the minute. The Max ones are okay. The Ultras, they're out until, I think, July, which is quite a way out. You can get them in like base configurations, I think, but certain configurations at least, certainly taking a little while. But yeah, how's everyone's week been? Is everyone happy now that we're into the Easter weekend? I guess I've actually had today off. I'm back in work tomorrow, but then we've got Sunday and Monday off, so that's gonna be nice. We've got a lot of sorting out to do. Yeah. So let's talk M2 Max. So this is a report that's come out from, of course, Mark Gurman, and he is reporting that Apple has, this has come from internal developer logs that indicate that Apple is testing 9 different computers with the next generation of Apple Silicon, which means M2 generation, which is interesting, because there's a few people that seem to be convinced that the Mac Pro will be one of the couple of systems that we see at WWDC, and then there's others that are talking about Mac Mini, potentially with an M1 Pro / M2 Pro at the event, and MacBook Air seems to be almost certainly the one that everyone is expecting now, which is good, but Guoming Chi has definitely been saying that it's still going to come with an M1, which is very strange. Matthew Wangerman, how are you doing? Thank you for being here. So yeah, in terms of new M2 chips, apparently there are 2 M2 based systems that are literally ready to ship. This is according to Mark Gurman. So fingers crossed. That means that we're going to be getting those very, very soon. And I think WWDC makes a lot of sense. We have done a video where we were talking about the Mac Mini potentially with M1 Pro inside, and the fact that that could quite easily be done as a press release if Apple chose to do so. Whether they will or not, completely another matter. But interesting. So, Tech for Your Needs says, just coming out of COVID-19, thanks that I'm able to talk and I'm still here. That's fair. Glad to hear you're feeling better. And Mark Sequence, you don't say, what about tilt and height too, or just tilt? I know a lot of it's for that feature, but I'd rather have it all in one with a more elegant, more elegant than Apple's offering. So yeah, the Apple Studio displays, I think if you want one of the weirder stand options, probably going to be a little bit further out. But it's the Studio Max, not the Studio displays, that are back ordered right now. The Studio displays you should be able to get hold of. Mac Studio is back ordered for 2 months, and that's for the maybe for the Max model, but certainly for the Studio with Ultra inside. I believe that's a June or July thing now, which is a while. That's quite a long time to wait for something. But yes, I'm going to keep mentioning the fact that we have a camera that is following me around, and this is not center stage, just so that you're aware. This is a physical camera that's physically moving around to follow me, and I think it does a pretty good job. I like it. I like it a lot. We have got the formal review coming very, very soon. But yeah, it's going to be positive. This thing's been really solid, and I think the picture's really good. So yeah, no problems there. But yeah, M2 Max. So the ones that Apple Insider are reporting right now, M2 Air with MacBook Air with M2 chip, Mac Mini with M2 series of chips, which they're talking about the M2 and the M2 Pro for this. Then we've got MacBook Pro with M2 and M2 Max chips, which makes sense. That would be, fingers crossed, that means we're not getting the weird little MacBook Pro that had the M1 inside before and nothing else. Looks like that might be leaving us based on this. Mac Pro tested with successor to the M1, which I guess is going to be, successor to the M1 Ultra, so that would be an M2 Ultra equivalent, I guess. And Mac models using more powerful chips in M1 line. There are apparently more Mac models tested with the more powerful SoCs in the M1 lineup that are not currently available to consumers. So there is a Mac Mini with an M1 Pro, but that looks like it's not going to be released now. There is... What else have we got here? Oh, they were actually testing a Mac Mini with an M1 Max inside as well. So my guess here is that the thermals for the M1 Max were not great in a Mac Mini, but, all remains to be seen because Apple moves in mysterious ways. So let's see what we've got. David Stevenson only checked the stock for the base model, 8 to 10 weeks for delivery. A lot of shops had some in stock today, and some shops were all sold out, i.e. Reading, but Watford have them. The Mac Studios, have just been, I think, a bit of a runaway success. Even though some people are not impressed with the performance, I still think it's a really good product. I'm really glad that Apple's done it. I think it's a worthwhile product, to be completely honest. I think it's a good one. This is not my best live stream. Apologies, guys. Please hit me up with any questions you've got down in the chat. But I just wanted to come and hang out with you guys because it's just been a crazy week, and I was off work today. Been sorting out the shed, trying to make some room at the back of the house so that I can use a projector onto the wall of the house to do some big movie stuff for a review. A little slurp of coffee. But WWDC, that's the other big thing we've got coming up. Obviously, that is our software event. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. iOS 16, very, very little information on what's likely to come. I would love to see a bit of redesign work. Doesn't look like that's happening. David Stevenson, testing must surely start a long time before shipping. Yes, but test production for M2 was way back into last year. I think they were testing M3 production at the end of last year, as far as I'm aware. So I think this is kind of last minute, getting everything ready to go out the door kind of testing, as far as I understand it. But yes, so I think the MacBook Air is the one that I'm the most interested in, but I will not be interested in it at all if they put an M1 inside, not an M2, or something more interesting. I can't imagine they're going to go to a Pro or a Max in an Air. That doesn't make sense. It's all about the low power and the efficiency, but are they going? How are they going to do it? Is it going to be M2? Guoming Chi says M1. I'm not convinced. But we do still have 2 gaps in our lineup from what was registered with the EEC for the radio stuff. So I think we've got a desktop and a laptop. I still think that MacBook Pro 13-inch is going to become MacBook. I think that's going to be the base model. That's my thoughts on that. Evan Rogers, you are late, but that's fine, my friend. Don't you worry about it. Uncle Bart, do you think that Apple will release a wireless charger like the MagSafe Trip that has the fast Series 7 charging and a space for AirPods Pro? Also, like the Duo that we've got right now, I think there's a possibility of that, actually. Apple tends to like updating that kind of thing, but I think it'll probably be one more year. The Series 7, what I would love to see is for Apple to do a concentric MagSafe charger, so you can have your phone attached to it, or you can take that off and you can pop your watch on there, because you could just put the smaller coils in the center and it would actually work fine. I know this because I have a wireless hub that actually works in the same way, and that does all of that stuff. Basically, you can charge both of them on the same pad at different times. Tech for your needs. Are you planning to buy any of the new Apple devices coming this year? If yes, why? So the main thing that I'm on the lookout for is a laptop. I don't actually have a laptop at the moment. I've been using I've been using iPad Air as my kind of mobile computer, and then on the desktop is the Mac Mini, which I use for editing the shows. Having seen the performance of the MacBook Airs and stuff in the past, I think if I was to get an M2 MacBook Air and then dock it here, I could probably even do without the Mac Mini, although I kind of like having it here as a base setup that I can pop in and out of and use quickly, and I can keep all the hard drives attached to it, and then potentially share those over the network. Oh, Evan's silly job got in the way of coming to play. Well, that's upsetting, Evan, but we can forgive you. Would the Series 8 be a worthy upgrade from the Series 4? Good God, I hope so. The Series 7 is still, for me, very meh. I don't think it's a particularly good upgrade. The Series 4 was just, like, great. I got the SE, which is basically, like, a hybrid of the 4 and the 5. And I love it. I'm still using that all the time. But yes, Series 8 should definitely be a worthy upgrade. I would go for that in a second, in a heartbeat. What else have we got? I'm just gonna raid Apple Insider. Has anyone seen any interesting news? Now, I guess we've got to talk about Twitter and the Musk wanted to buy it, which is very strange. So Elon bought 9%-ish, 9.2% of Twitter last week, I think. And then he got offered a place on the board, and then he basically decided he didn't want that, and he wanted to buy the whole company for $43 billion, which is like this big bump up on the pricing that the company was worth before he bought his. I think it was 38% or something extra as a premium in order to try and convince the existing shareholders. And yeah, I haven't seen anything on whether that's been turned down or any of that stuff. But if Michael Moy's still here in the chat, I think he will probably know more than us about the stocks side of things. But yeah, exciting times. Let me know in the chat, would Elon Musk owning Twitter be a good thing or a bad thing? And I'll jump into some of these. Thank you very much, Evan, for the super chat. Happy Easter to you as well, sir. Uncle Bart, Evan, my job has been getting in the way too much too. I'm a motor coach driver, so usually driving in the mornings. Yeah, I mean that would make it harder to watch my videos, and I think you're making the right choice if you're driving a motor coach. Please don't watch at the same time. Uncle Burr, Series 7 from a Series 3 with a cracked screen is a worthwhile upgrade. Fair enough. I wouldn't buy the 7 if I'd got any from a 4 later, probably. But yeah, from a 3, just taking it off is quite an upgrade. Take for your needs. Do you think that Apple is going to redesign the watch this year? I mean, I really hope so. I think that flat-sided design looked really good. And fingers crossed it is something that is on the way. It was just not quite ready at the time. July 4th, 1776, dedicated to the proposition. You'll be back. Soon you'll see. Welcome back to your owners, America. I hope the Series 8 watch will be the one that I want to buy. What was the one that you were looking for? Is that the flat sides, July the 4th, which is all I can really call you. It takes too long to read the whole name every time. Michael Moy, he suggested he wanted to buy it, but financing isn't secured. Twitter is adopting a poison pill, making it difficult for him to buy it, and a private equity firm, Thomas Bravo, has expressed an interest in buying Twitter as well. Okay, so we're going to get into a little bidding war, or just Twitter deciding who they want to sell to, I guess, is the other thing. But I'm guessing they don't get too much option. They have to go to the highest bidder because of fiduciary duties and stuff, I assume. Yeah, I'm not a stocks boy. I don't understand it well. It would suck because Trump would return to Twitter. Oh yeah, I guess so, but also, yeah, I mean, I sit right in the middle of the should we censor stuff versus should we spread rampant misinformation. I think normally the best solution to misinformation is more information, but sometimes when the wrong person gets the microphone, it's damaging, shall we say. Ron Matson for the Bargain Hunters refurb MacBook Pro M1 Pro 14 and 16-inch have appeared on the US Apple Store in refurbs. Nice discounts. Very good to know. Thank you so much. Yeah, the pricing is always really pretty keen on the refurbs, and those are quite new. Elon Musk owning Twitter would be a disaster. Just look at what Rupert Murdoch has done to the world with his network in support of Putin and Trump. Yeah, but it's also, I don't know. I know Elon hasn't done all of the stuff that everyone expects that he's done because he didn't kind of set up Tesla. He did set up SpaceX. He did set up the solar panel thing, I think. Oh. Tim Cook has just tweeted. I guess we should just pay attention to that briefly. Let's see what he said. I'm not going to try and do his accent. Just so everyone's aware. So, Tim Cook has just tweeted, I hope your cedar table is full and conversations are meaningful tonight. Chag Prashach Shemech to all celebrating the story of Passover. So if there is anyone who is celebrating Passover in the chat, sorry that I can't say things. But yeah. Thanks, Tim. Happy Easter, everyone. Let's see what we've got. Evan Rogers, a 40 billion purchase of Twitter would actually cost 55 to 60 billion after the taxes. Yeah, that makes sense. There will always be in England. There will. And, you'll always come back in the end. They may only be in England. Everyone else may go indie. Mark, did you just get done with your taxes like me? Elon treats his workers like slaves. Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess certainly with some of them, but then there's others that just adore working for him. So I guess it's probably not him treating them that way, but buck stops there at least. Michael Moy hoping Tim would announce a Twitter buyout. I mean, Apple buying Twitter, I don't think antitrust would allow it, even though they're not in the social media space at the moment. However, would be interesting. Oh, and I came up with a concept earlier, and I know I've spoken about this vaguely in the past, and I've talked about the idea that you could potentially use an iPhone and use the camera system that you have in your iPhone as a FaceTime camera for a Mac, basically, to attach it somehow. But if Apple wants to make the MacBook Airs as thin as possible and people don't want to have the notch at the top, why not have MagSafe built into the back of the lid for the display, and be able to MagSafe attach your iPhone to the back of it? So you're looking at your laptop like this, you MagSafe to the back of it, it pokes the camera over the top of your display, and you can basically use that as your FaceTime camera via wireless Bluetooth. What do you think? Just a little thought that I had. Evan Rogers, are the Cupertino mugs new? They are. What do you think? I think it looks pretty good. So this is iCaveDave.com/merch. It's my my little merch store. And this is the design that I'm the most proud of. This is obviously this is the first t-shirt we did, I think. But yeah, the Cupertino mugs, I think they look really, really good. And it's a solid black as well. It's not like black printed onto white. It's a solid black mug with white printing. So I think these are quite cool. Yeah. Evan Rogers, my grandpa, liked to say that paying a lot in taxes mean you have a lot to be thankful for. Oh, well, yeah, of course, because you've got to be making the money to do it. Oh, Evan Rogers, ordering now on the mugs. Thank you very much. Please do send me a picture if any of you guys have got merch. I mean, I know, Mark, you've got an entire room filled with my merch, which is great. But anyone else that's got my merch, please do send me a picture, tag me in it on Twitter, whatever you're going to do. Because I'd love to see my stuff out there in the world. I make these because I think it looks cool when I'm drinking from it. But yeah, I think the merch stuff's fun. Camera Plus MagSafe for FaceTime iPhone cameras, brilliant. Love the iCave glasses. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it came to mind earlier when I was tidying the shed, and I was like, you could just stick it to the back of it. And then maybe it could even charge your iPhone while it's there as well. Put the charging coil in there too. It does mean that the hinges would need a bit of reinforcing. They'd need to be a little bit stiffer than they are right now. But I think that would be a decent trade-off. I think that would be a really cool feature. And then you don't have to worry about the fact that your lid is quite thin and you can't get great sensors into there. And I think it just makes sense. Yeah. Then you don't have to have a notch. Everyone's happy. And I can't imagine there's many Mac users who don't have a vaguely recent iPhone. I could be wrong completely on that. But I would think there's a very reasonable number that have. So, Mark Sequence, the mug is in high demand. Oh my word! Excellent. I'm glad if lots of people are buying the mugs. Mark Sequence, the stainless double-walled cup is my favourite. It reminds me of the M1X that never was. WWDC 2021. Yeah, because that's what we did last time, wasn't it? We did the emoji version. That was a great little merch drop that everyone got involved with, that's what made it fun. If you have an iPhone, you do not need to buy a camera. Exactly. I mean, this is the only, all of my videos that we make for the channel that are pre-recorded videos are recorded on this. This is the 12 Pro Max. You don't need to have a separate like overall camera. The only reason I have this thing is because I'm testing it, but I think it's great, and I kind of want to keep this for live streams because it's I mean it's really good, and it's just like having center stage, but actually we're full res the whole time as well, which is a bit different. I wonder, can I zoom on it? I haven't played around with it too much. I think we should probably do that. Let's see, can we zoom? So let's try. So at the moment we're on. This is on tracking mode. Let's have a little play with this camera while we're here, shall we? I believe we've got gesture controlled zoom on. Tell me, how do I do it? I think it's this. No. Do I have to use the other hand? No, doesn't want to play. But I do think this is quite cool because it is just the full res 4K signal that it's getting into the stream straight out, which is just fun, and like watching it chase you around is great. Anyway, yeah, on the Memoji thing, Dave made his Memoji the biggest one and even signed it. Ego on this guy. Yeah, it's my thing. I'm allowed to. WW22 though, I think we're gonna have to do a shirt. We just need to work out what's gonna be on there. Should we do emojis again somehow? We could do. It's a lot of work, but it was worth it. It looked really cool. Let's see what we've got. Okay, Mug ordered. Almost got the beach towel, but wouldn't be here in time for my vacation next week. That would be amazing just to see people on vacation. Especially if I went on vacation and saw people with one of my beach towels. That would just be, A, improbable, but B, very, very cool. So, Rod Tech, I just heard 9 Mac M2 variants are being tested to be announced at WWDC. Have you heard anything? So, yeah, we've talked about this a little bit already, but let's go back into this. So, yes, now we're not talking about 9 different variants of the M2. What we're talking about here is potentially 4 different chips, which would line up with what we had with M1. So we'd be talking M2, M2 Pro, M2 Max, M2 Ultra. And those would be spread across 9 different Mac models. So we'd be talking about M2 in a MacBook Air, a Mac Mini, and an iMac. We'd then be talking about the Pro in a Mac Mini, MacBook Pro, Max in a MacBook Pro and the Mac Studio, and then Ultra in the Mac Studio. And then we don't quite know what is going to go on in terms of the Mac Pro yet. That's the other thing that we might well get announced at WWDC, but I don't think it's what's going to be included in the 2 that are expected to be released, because I think it's probably going to come at the end of the year, but with an announcement at WW just to whet everyone's appetites, if you like. But yeah, we're looking at potentially the MacBook Air with the brand new design with all the bright colours at WW, and also potentially a Mac Mini is my best guess. I think there may be a MacBook that comes out which might potentially have M1 still and be kind of like our MacBook SE, although I don't think it will be branded that way, which is upsetting because I think MacBook SE would be very, very strong as an offer, probably using the old MacBook Pro 13-inch size, using that chassis, taking away the touch bar and making it just a very usable basic laptop. Maybe even taking away backlit keys. Would you, if you were getting a $200 cheaper, let's say $799 MacBook Pro without the touch bar and with M1 inside, would you be happy for that to not have illuminated keys as a way of saving the money to make it that bit cheaper? Let me know in the chat. Let's see what else we've got down here. Mark Sequence, it'll be there in time for your return from vacation, it sounds like. Yep, that's the beach towel. With M2 testing reports this week, is it feasible to believe they can announce the chip/products at WWDC? This is not testing the chip to make sure the chips are okay. This is testing them probably with the new operating system. It looks like at this point they're actually testing third-party apps, which is how this has been discovered, because it's these chips and these devices have come up in third-party developers' log files. So it looks very much like these are production, or at least very near to pre-production models that are being tested to make sure that they will be working well with third-party apps before any kind of optimization, which I think that makes a lot of sense for why they would be coming this quickly. We're not talking about chips that have just come off the dies and being kind of tested for making sure that they work. We're talking about a lot further down the line of just making sure that third-party software is going to be compatible with these chips and not cause any major issues if they are launched without a massive software update, I guess. July 4th, 1772. Makes all the sense in the world. Sure, where did you get the phrase? It was something that we just started saying on the show, and it's a little bit like what Rene Ritchie had been saying with makes all the sense that does. But it was something that I'd been saying for a while anyway, and I'm sure Rene's said all the sense in the world a few times since I started. May have been doing it anyway, but it's not impossible that he watches the show and decided to put an Easter egg in there. That would be awesome. Hey Dave, what are your kids' favourite YouTubers? My niece is like, Afum? Afmau? So, my kids, they really like Vladniki, they really like Ryan's World, Ted really likes Cookie Swirl C, and, but my eldest son, Ollie, he tends to watch kind of kids' TV from the UK, but also Tipping Point, which is like a slot machine, like a slot machine pusher quiz game, and he's also really into Loose Women, which is like the UK version of The View, and he's 7. So that's what he's into. Little Mountain Life, hey, chiming in late while working on plumbing in the house. Good to hear it. Don't get too distracted. You do not want a flood on my behalf. Slow Cuba, I think your camera is focusing on your boom arm instead of on you, although that may be a feature. I mean, possibly. Is it that far off? I guess. There we go. We could maybe do that and see if it. If I turn the mic around as well, so it's actually facing me, that would be good. But maybe that'll help. Let's see what happens. Maybe the boom arm needs googly eyes. Yeah, I mean, on the back of the mic, maybe we could put some here. That'd be cool. Kay Jones, do you think iPads will eventually get MagSafe? Yeah, I think we're going to see the first MagSafe coming to iPads this year. I think it might be that the back stays aluminium, but we get like a MagSafe circle around the Apple logo. I don't think you could put the MagSafe just through the Apple logo itself, and from the sounds of things, actually making the backs of the devices purely glass is just too fragile, which does make sense, but I think it would have looked awesome. So I think that's probably what we're going to see, is maybe like a glass circle in the center, which will be where your MagSafe attaches, and that's probably the way that we will do it. We were talking on Twitter as well earlier. I put out a post basically baiting people that want USB-C in iPhones, saying, how mad are you that the Apple Watch doesn't charge over USB-C and uses a proprietary charger? And I don't think people quite got my sarcasm, but I would love for the next version of MagSafe to also have the Apple Watch charger puck like sort of set into the center of it, so you could place your Apple Watch down on it, or you could put down your iPhone, and then again you're just eliminating another cable. I think that would be really quite good. But yeah. Okay. Uncle Bo is saying that he wishes newly purchased iPad Mini had MagSafe. Yeah, I think it'd be really good. And you could actually use MagSafe as your way of kind of centering everything for keyboard cases and that kind of thing too. what else have we got here? The iPad mini makes the most sense for MagSafe from Evan. Yeah, I think so. I think I'd agree with that. Rod Tech, yeah, I think they need to make a MacBook SE because it would be in line with the iPhones and iPads. Yeah, MacBook SE and maybe a Mac Mini SE as well. $500, 128 gigs of internal storage would probably be enough if you were going to do like a very base iPad, binned chip, binned M1. You know, the people that are buying this are not buying it specifically to go on, higher end applications. They're probably buying it specifically for office applications, bit of web browsing, bit of email, that kind of thing, but they just like macOS over using Windows or Linux or whatever other stuff people use to punish themselves. Just bought an iPad mini as well. I kind of dislike using multiple cables to charge my iPhone, iPad, and MacBook. Yeah, I get it. We're in a weird transition period at the minute. If you could use MagSafe for all of them, would that please you? Because I've got to say, MagSafe for the iPhone is like my favourite thing ever. Especially when I was on the road and working, and I was able to basically have a MagSafe charger on the dashboard that held my phone in place, and I could just slap it on there every time I got in, use it for navigation, and when I get to my destination, my phone is full. It was tremendous. Rod Tech, but I want the MacBook Air. Okay. Oh, so instead of the SE that you've been looking at. So, to be completely honest, for me, I would probably push towards an M2 MacBook or MacBook Air. The main reason for that is because I get to then test it for the channel. But in terms of what I actually need, I feel like the MacBook with M1 would be absolutely adequate. But I don't want to buy it now in case it drops price, because I think that's what they're likely to do. Evan Rogers, oh god, imagine how terrible Apple Watch would be with a rubber plug for a USB-C port. My mind is racing back to the horrible watches of the 2000s. Exactly. I mean, I think they could probably do it and leave it open. It's just that if you've just been in the shower, obviously wireless charging makes far more sense. If you've got any liquids stuck in there, but Apple has already got the system for ejecting water from the speaker holes, which they've used already, which uses audio waves in order to do that. July 7th, instead of a bat sign on the night sky, we need an iCave Apple sign on the night sky. I mean, I'd be down for that. If someone wants to make one of those, I am in. Definitely need a purple iCave neon sign. I could be convinced. I am feeling like updating the branding on the channel a little bit. It's still going to be iCave, don't worry, but just in terms of fonts and in terms of kind of the look and feel of the graphics and things. I'm pushing towards Helvetica again. This font that I've used on here, which we used for all the early iCave stuff, is it's called DIN Condensed from memory. It's DIN Condensed, whereas Helvetica just looks sharp always. It's one of those beautiful fonts, just like Comic Sans. Like, you can never go wrong. Since Apple are really good at making displays, when do you think they will make an official television? Never. I just don't think they're going to do it. I mean, for a while, I think everyone thought they would. But actually, when you look at the TV market, there's just no profit to be made in it. Apple would have to charge for, let's say, a 55, 60-inch TV, something like that. They'd be charging probably 4 times what the rest of the market was, and the actual difference in what you get wouldn't be a huge amount, and you're never that close to your TV because of the size of it, so you wouldn't really appreciate the build quality in the way that you do when you're talking about something that's on your desk in front of you. So I don't think there's a particularly compelling business case to do it, but I would love to be proven wrong. I would love Apple to bring out like something like that. However, I also think that now that Apple is going to be moving towards AR and VR, virtual displays in your headset are likely to be the way forwards. Evan Rogers, if your goal is reducing cables, I'd recommend the 13 Pro Max with a nightstand charger. You won't ever need to reach for a cable. We have actually got a charging base. Let me grab it because it's really good. So this one lives in the kitchen. This is called the Charge Tree Swing, and it's basically it's a three-way. So you have got a little Apple Watch charger on the side here. This is a Qi charger. It's not MagSafe, which is the only kind of downside to me. And then on the back, you've got a little AirPods wireless charging point as well, which is great because now that I've got the AirPods 3rd gen, you can charge all three, and you just need one USB-C cable, which is also great because then that also matches with the iPad, because I use the iPad Air. So yeah, everything from one cable if you happen to be traveling. But yeah, I don't tend to travel that much either now these days. But yeah, that works quite well. Slow Cuba, I heard a rumor maybe from Sam of Sam and John, so that's iUpdate. That the Watch 8 new feature was a temperature sensor that would not report your temperature, reporting only if you were feverish or ovulating or such. Now, I'm not sure that I'm going to ovulate that much, but yes, I've seen this one. It doesn't quite make sense to me, but it's one of those things that Apple has ways of using data in certain ways and not necessarily just giving you the raw data. It tends to try and tell you what the data means. Now, if it is to tell you that you're feverish, that's the only thing you would need to know about your temperature. Like, you don't need to know what your current exact temperature is in a minute-by-minute basis. But if this is monitoring, I think there's an argument to be made that people have different basal temperatures, and I think if you don't know what your basal temperature is, if it comes up and tells you that you're 36.8 degrees, for example, 37.8 degrees, we work in Celsius over here, so I'm sorry about that. But if it comes up and tells you you're 37.8, which is basically what the threshold was being told to us for COVID potential, then that's fine. But if your base temperature, if you personally hover around 37 as opposed to 36.5, that's not a big jump, and you're going to get more false positives. So maybe if it's tracking what your kind of average temperature is, and then it's telling you when there is a major change, that might be the reason that this would happen. Yeah, I don't think it's a massive issue, but I think that might be the kind of way. It's more about the way that the data is interpreted and presented to us than the fact that we don't get like a minute-by-minute temperature chart. Uncle Dave, I love my MagSafe Duo for traveling. It makes things so convenient. Have the Beats Fit Pro, and wish the case had wireless charging. Does it not have wireless charging? Those Beats Fit Pro look pretty good in general, but if that's missing, that's quite annoying. Yeah, I really like the look of the MagSafe Duo. Do they do that in anything other than white though? I would love that in a black, like the kind of, or a dark grey that matched with like the iPad Magic Keyboard. That would be really good. But I think they only do them in white, and it looks like it would get really grubby really quite quickly. Apple TV Air with mini LED and Apple TV Pro with OLED television. Now, OLED for TV is a completely different technology to the OLED that we get in phones, because you're basically getting an OLED and then an LCD layer, as far as I know. So it's basically more about having the precise backlight and not generally the way that the other stuff does. So that would be interesting, but I think mini LED would probably be the better tech for a TV anyway. Mark Sequence, I'm not even reading that one. I've already tried to get myself cancelled once today. And if you missed it, it's when I'm talking about killing babies and Hitler in today's video. Evan Rogers, what's the holy grail for smartwatch technology? Glucose testing. Right, so glucose testing, this is something that we've talked about a little bit in the past because, as I mentioned before, Ollie, my son, is type 1 diabetic, and he wears a glucose monitor sensor on his arm, which we can then scan using NFC with the iPhones. But this has to have a sensor inserted into the skin, basically. It lasts for 2 weeks. But in terms of what an Apple Watch would be able to do visually, as far as I understand it, it wouldn't be to the same level. It would be potentially useful for early warning / diagnostics, but it would not be something you could use as an alternative to a full-on monitor that has a blood sensor included in it, like a physical blood sensor. That would be my thoughts on it. It would be good for you to be able to see kind of patterns for when you eat certain things, that what it does to your blood glucose, and it would also give people an early warning, because the majority of people that have diabetes find out because they have an incredibly high blood sugar level and then end up being emergency admitted to hospital because they're either in a coma or what have you. Now, if you had a watch... Oh, sorry. My vacuum decided to... I just kicked it, sorry. Yeah, if you have something that is constantly monitoring and it can see that you have a trend where you're getting very, very high and it's not coming down, that might be an indicator that you have got a diabetes or some kind of pancreas issue that would then be able to sort of alert you to go and see your physician to actually have the proper checkouts and find out. So that's where I think it would be useful. But I did watch a very good video by Medlife Crisis today that was about overdiagnosis and how too much information is not necessarily a good thing. Definitely recommend checking that out too. Let's see what else we've got here. Keep wishing Apple would just buy a display company. I mean, LG would be the one, I guess, because LG have made a lot of the panels for Macs. BOE is another one that's kind of a lot smaller, but they are now coming into the iPhone market with OLED. And Samsung still do a huge amount of the displays. Eventually every kind of testing, right? But immediately I guess glucose for the win. That would be, again, back to the Apple Watches. Yeah, I think it's interesting, but I think that's kind of where it sits as far as I can tell. Mark Sequence, forgot about that. Thanks for reminding me. Today's episode was great. Oh, talking about the Command & Conquer Red Alert stuff and Hitler. Good times. Do you think we'll get a big update for iPadOS at WWDC from Facebook London? Oh, FB London. Maybe Facebook. Who knows? I hope so. It sounds like we're going to get updates to multitasking, which is one of the big things that everyone wants. Multitasking on the iPad is kind of the weakness for some people. I think it works pretty well. But I think there's a lot of people that expect it to work exactly the same way as a Mac, which it does not. So Apple may well give people the option, when docked to a keyboard and mouse or keyboard and trackpad, that they would then be able to kind of toggle a switch and decide if they want it to be floating windows as opposed to being the split screen mode that we have right now. I think it would be too small, and floating windows kind of will waste a lot of space on the screen. I think everyone wants it, and then when they have it, they'll be like, actually, split screen was better. And nobody will actually use the floating windows full time. That's my prediction, but we will see. Michael Moy, something that I'd like to see in a new version of Monterey, allow 3 external displays if in clamshell mode on the M1 Pro MacBook Pro. Yeah, I mean, 3 would be pushing it. Oh yeah, 3. Okay, I got you. Yeah, so if it's in clamshell mode, just basically you don't have to power the internal display, so giving an external one. That would make sense. But it may well be a purely hard wiring type thing of where the external connections go. Won't buy another iPad until we get a proper operating system. FB London, I think we've got a proper operating system. It's just a different one. I don't think there's anything wrong with iPadOS, to be completely honest. I just think that people, because they're expecting it to work in the way that macOS does, I don't think it ever will, because it's not designed for that. It's designed to be a mobile operating system. It's designed to be touch first and not mouse and keyboard first. Although now Apple's muddying the water there a little bit with the physical accessories. But yeah. Uncle Burr, Mini 6 is my first. It's a great place to start if you want iPad minis. Apple by LG, yes. Well, LG have just dropped their whole smartphone lineup. They're just purely focusing now, I think, on the displays, consumer electronics. So maybe there's an opportunity there for Apple. Ricardo Espinosa, you've mentioned it before, but what kind of improvements should Apple TV Plus get? Seems like premium content, but not much of a catalogue. Yeah, and this is the big difference between Apple TV Plus and basically all of the other streaming services out there. A lot of the other streaming services have kind of really invested in a lot of existing content. Apple TV has, to a very small extent, things like Charlie Brown and the Peanuts stuff and Fraggle Rock, I think, and obviously they buy some movies, but in general their TV series, the shows that they have are all original. The movies are all original. They're not, I mean, they might be produced by someone else, but they're not things that are just reruns of existing IP. So I think that's why that's where that is. At the moment, they've just launched the baseball stuff, and Evan Rogers has just mentioned in the chat about NFL Sunday Ticket, which is a American football thing, which is not football, just so you're aware. I think Apple TV Plus, they're doing really, really well with the quality of the content. Like, it's second to none. Like, it's at least HBO quality, which has always been kind of the gold standard. So, yeah, I think they're doing really well. Just interested to see what they'll do next, to be honest. And I hope that they'll do some more stuff. I think the problem with John Oliver is now great. That's one that I've been watching and completely forgot to mention as well. Yeah, there's quite a few bits. Don't know what other improvements you could get, though. I mean, other than search needs to be fixed. It's an absolute abomination at the minute. Trying to find anything on Apple TV Plus is not easy. Evan Rogers, do you think iPadOS needs a docking mode like DeX to remain competitive in the market? Nope, don't think so. The one thing that I think would be really good is if Apple was to release one of their displays that actually had touch built in, because the biggest issue at the minute with using a second display with an iPad is that you've either got to use keyboard and mouse, or you can't use a second display in any real useful way. There's a couple of apps, things like LumaFusion, you can use an AirPlay display as like your main video that you're working on, and then you just get your timelines and stuff on the iPad. But generally, I don't think there's a huge amount that it needs. What else we got down here? Would Apple ever go back to Intel chips? God, I hope not. Why would they? If they've got their own chips, which are faster than Intel's, more power efficient, and everything, why? Why would they? I don't know. Evan Rogers, the single biggest property in media is NFLST. Sunday Ticket. Okay. Maybe in America. Nobody over here cares. But yeah, sure. Do I need to get my Jets jersey back out? Arthur Swart. Sorry, GMT plus 1 is a serious issue. Yes, it does make it difficult, doesn't it? When our time changes and yours hasn't, and just why do we need to have time zones that change? In fact, can we all just use the same time zone, and then I can just say at 10 o'clock 10 p.m. and everyone knows it, because it doesn't matter, like, if in other countries, like, obviously we might not be the centre of the world, but we did invent GMT, so I feel like we get first dibs. But just to be able to go, oh, well, in that part of the world they start work at 2 p.m. and work through till, midnight, or 12 a.m., which is when the date changes over. But yeah, I just think that would make, now that we've got a global economy, having everyone on the same clock, even if the dates change at different points, or the date would change at the same time for everyone then, I guess, as well. But yeah, why does noon, or why does 12 p.m. have to line up with when the sun is the highest in the sky? It doesn't actually really make any difference anymore. So, what do I think about universal control? K. Jones, it's magic. It's witchcraft. I'm terrified by it, but I'm also very pleased by it. And it's so intuitive, it just works straight away. Sparkle Boom, I look tired. Yes, I do look tired. It's because I'm tired, but also allergies have just struck this weekend, so my eyes are like puffy as hell. I'm not super mega tired, but I will be going to bed after this. Don't you worry, because it is just coming up to 11:30 here. So we're going to do about another 10 minutes. If you've got any more questions, smash them down into the chat right now, and we will get all of those done. Emma the Vacuum does want to get involved. That's not really a question, Emma. So, Evan Rogers, Apple could stay with Intel for one more generation of MacBook Pro. Of Mac Pro. So I don't think they will. I don't think there's ever going to be, and I said this as soon as the iMacs came out, after the WWDC of 2020. As soon as that had happened and those iMacs came out, I was like, right, that's probably the last Macs that we will see with Intel, because I think they were already in the pipeline. I don't think we're going to see anything else at all coming out with Intel chips, and I'm very, very happy with that, because the M series Macs have just blown everyone away, I think, in terms of the power efficiency for the amount of power that you get. I think it's really, really compelling. I don't think there's any reason that we need Intel at this point. There's enough out there already. If you must have Intel because you need to run Boot Camp, then go and buy something used. That's fine, or from the refurb store. But I don't think Apple needs to keep Intel around anymore. Uncle Buh, just got an Apple TV as well. What would you suggest for speakers? 2 HomePod minis or 3 OG HomePods? I mean, 3 OG HomePods would sound insane. If you can get 3 to work together, I think you can only do 2 at a time that are paired together, but I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, getting hold of the OG HomePods is not easy. Not easy, my friend. CEX over here is a good place for it, which is like Computer Exchange. I guess you guys have... it's a pawn shop, I guess. Yeah, you sell your tech to them. Sparkle Boom, my sinuses are bothering me as well. Yeah, I'm just like, my eyes get itchy, and then my eyes go bright red, and then I look awful, but, we're just here to chat Apple, so it's all fine. Mark Sequence, leave it to the Brit to unify the world, conforming it all to the part of him. Yes, yeah, exactly. We want it all to be GMT, if at all possible. Uncle Bert, I bought 2 way back a month before HomePods were discontinued. I had no idea they were going to be discontinued. That move shocked me. Yeah, everyone was surprised when the OG HomePod was discontinued, even though they'd barely sold any. But now they have become super rare, so you can probably sell them on for a lot more. It's good. Arthur Swart, I'd go for a Apple TV if it included a couple of terabytes of iCloud storage for the videos I already own. Like, are you talking about the physical TV set? That would make sense. We were talking about the subscription program for iPhones the other day, and the potential that you could actually be given a certain amount of free iCloud space to back your phone up, so that when they come to do an exchange and give you your fresh one, you've already backed up to the cloud, and maybe Apple could even like put that onto your new phone before you get it. Because wouldn't it be awesome if your new phone replacement turned up at your house on release day, you pressed, you looked at it, and it unlocked with Face ID, and all of your stuff's already there? That would be tremendous. What else have we got here? So, hey Dave, great to see you. Will there be an M2 iMac soon? I think there will be, Naked Bananas. I think that the M2 iMac is definitely on the cards for reasonably quickly. We might see some slight updates to colours for that, but other than that, I don't think we're going to see a great deal. It might also add centre stage, though, the same as we've got for the 5K studio display. Fingers crossed it won't look awful like that, though. Uncle Bar, you just correcting a typo. Evan Rogers, what is your biggest tech regret purchase of all time? A Windows license. No, actually, I'm just trying to think, what would it be? I've got to say, when I first got my 2013 iMac, I was disappointed because I'd been using a MacBook Air at the time. I thought this is going to be insanely fast, insanely powerful, but my MacBook Air had SSD, because they all did, and this had a spinny hard drive, so it felt slow as molasses, so it upset me to begin with. But I now run it off of external SSD anyway, for anything that I do on it. Other than that, I don't really have any big tech regrets, I don't think. No, I think that would probably be the one that surprised me the most. Do you think Apple will unify the Magic Keyboard size for most iPads? I prefer the bigger keyboard and would rather have the 11-inch iPad. Oh, okay, so having a larger keyboard, but then potentially the iPad sticking to it and not filling the whole space. I think it's unlikely. I think they're likely to do two sizes. There might be a way that they add support for the iPad mini to go onto the 11-inch version. Not 100% sure, though. Slow Cuba, have you ever tried out iOS 15.4 yet for masked Face ID? Yes, I've been using it through the betas. I've never really had the issue with Face ID with a mask because I've got the Apple Watch, which also helps to unlock. But actually, when I've used it, it works really well. Uncle Bar, my first smartphone, OG Windows Mobile. Which one was it that you had? Because I decided that I should do this. So one of the first smartphones that I actually had was the O2 XDA Orbit 2, and I found one on eBay for like £20. So I bought it boxed, and I thought maybe we could do a review of this at some point. But this is a full touch screen. I think this is from about 2006, so pre-iPhone, Windows Mobile, stylus that slots into there. I thought this thing was huge as well at the time. But this is, yeah, I mean, it had sat-nav built in using TomTom maps. I was like, I love this thing at the time. Looking back, not so much, not so great. So maybe we'll get that charged up and we'll do a bit of an event with that. July 4th, 1776, dedicated to the proposition, nothing will surpass the depression of spending $12,000 on an IBM PS2. Oh my word, $12,000 on that. Yeah, but it was a different time back then. I mean, our first family, like, IBM compatible PC. Oh, sorry, one of my lights has just decided to give up the ghost. Let's just bring this one round. Give us a little bit more. So yeah, our first tower PC was 33 megahertz. I think that's when it was in turbo mode, though. It was 25 megahertz. 33 when it was in turbo mode. 4 megabytes of RAM, I would say. Maybe 250 megabyte hard drive. And I guess this was around about 92, 93, somewhere around there. That would be my best guess, but we'd been using BBC micros before that, which are all ARM based and pretty awesome. Rodtech, do you have an idea of the price of the upcoming M1 to M2s? I think the pricing will be pretty much consistent. I don't think they're going to increase the prices for going to an M2. I think what they might do, though, is drop the prices of the M1 so it becomes like a new entry level. Just like they do with previous year's iPhones, which also uses Apple's own silicon. So that would just make the most sense to me. So I would expect that the new MacBook Air would be either $999, or if they are going to bring out a lower priced model underneath it, it might go to $1199. Depends if they're going to put the nicer displays in. Arthur Swart, Mia Kelper, late to the party. Still about 20 terabytes of iCloud for just about everything would make my life easier. Google's terabytes are too expensive, too slow for footage. Yeah, iCloud is mad for me. We've got the 2 terabyte family plan, and that's starting to get filled up. But then all of my videos that I record for the show, because they're recorded on the iPhone, do get uploaded to iCloud automatically. So I could probably go through and take a huge amount of that off of the system. And not have to worry about it, but yeah, I just haven't. Uncle Bert, what I had what was basically the HTC 2500, similar to yours. Yeah, fair enough. Slow Cuba, thanks. Have a blessed weekend. I hope you make it through the pollination to the summer. Apparently, each of our Birminghams get pollinated around the same time of year. Yep, absolutely. I'm normally not too bad, but occasional days it's pretty bad, and I didn't even think about it until I looked at a story on the BBC, and I was like, oh, so that's why my eyes are itching, because apparently there's this huge pollination bomb this weekend, because all of a sudden we've gone from like 11 degrees to 19 degrees Celsius, and that's good. Ricardo Espinosa, I want to say thank you for all your hard work. Love your vids and hope you have a great weekend. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Naked Bananas, I second that. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, you guys are awesome. Evan Rogers, my first smartphone was the iPhone 3G, but got rid of it for the HTC Evo 4G. God, that phone sucked. Well, you've learnt your lesson. All iPhone ever since that HTC disappointment. Great show. Mac Mini M1 Pro when... if we're getting it, WWDC, it might be that we actually go straight to an M2 Pro for that. Mixed reports at the moment, but I think at WW we will see a better Mac Mini. We've seen references to the 10,1 in the code, so we know that it's coming at some point soon. Evan Rogers took 6 months longer for Netflix streaming to work on Android than iPhone, and said never again. I had a night desk job at the time. Oh, God, that would be awful, not being able to watch stuff. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining us for this stream. We are going to wrap it up now. Thank you for all of your questions. If you've got one that you would like me to answer in a future show, please do slap them down in the comment section. We've already got a video in the can for tomorrow, which just needs to be edited, so that will probably be out around the normal sort of 1 p.m. time tomorrow. I am working tomorrow, so may well not be there for the live premiere, but please do enjoy yourselves. Oh, another one from Evan. Thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. Do really, really appreciate it, but it's not required. Thank you so much. And yeah, feel better in the morning. Fingers crossed. Yeah, off to work tomorrow. We've got a couple of shows on. In fact, I think we've got 3 shows on tomorrow at the theatre, and then into a new show next week. But yeah, fantastic. Thank you all so much for being here, and we will see you in the next one.